Flannery.
Present.
Ms. Phillips.
Here.
Mr. Burgess.
Here.
Mr. Silver.
Here.
Dr. Kelly is excused. Ms. Ennis is in.
Okay. Minutes of previous meeting.
Not Shane was out of town.
Persons to be heard. None. Special orders. None. Old business review. ASD draft letter.
The very back of the pack.
So this was a letter that we proposed drafting at our last meeting in response to disclosures that we received from teachers where we thought that they were getting too large of a gift from the parent. We pulled a bunch of the disclosures last time that we didn't approve and we were gonna take under further consideration at this meeting. Not sure if are these all new ones? Are
Yes,
these all
these are new ones.
new
Yeah.
disclosures?
Yeah, I didn't see any old disclosures when I read.
Yeah.
Okay, so the old ones are here. I also did a quick summary of the old ones. Although unfortunately I didn't print it out on the right kind of paper, but
Can we make copies of the back?
could if we could get it. I don't know if it'll line up, but so it shows the person, who the gift was from, the value of the gift. These are all the ones we pulled at the last meeting. And so possibly everyone on that list, after we go through them again, might be getting a letter of this kind.
And at least one of these in the current list.
And at least one on the current disclosures is a possibility. Okay.
And in fact, I didn't know if you wanted to change the agenda to go to that first because you'll see there's at least one, if not more.
Well, I think we could deal with it under old business, looking at the old ones, and if we
Okay.
decide the standard for these old ones, then the same standard would apply to the ones we find in the packet.
Right.
Right? I know when we talked about this draft letter, we said we didn't want to make a statement saying that we had found a violation, because in order to find a violation, we actually have to look at the specific facts and dig further, and have a violation filed with us. But I still thought the letter was going to be a little bit stronger than this.
So did I. In the last paragraph, last two paragraphs, I sent a note back to him. I said, I think we're holding their hand a little bit too much.
Okay.
I appreciate what he was trying to do, but he may be being maybe a little bit too professorial.
You can drop off the last paragraph.
Wow. Barbara went to clerical school to learn how to do that, right?
Yeah, cutting and pasting.
Yeah, it's just the same thing, even if we left out the last paragraph, just put the last sentence on,
Mm-hmm.
so they knew they could contact us.
it's gonna be clear to people, the last line of that, second to the last paragraph, the board recommends that in future you refrain from receiving such gifts from students or their parents.
Well, you put gifts over $50.
Should be refused.
You can put a limitation on, but personally, I feel they shouldn't accept any, unless it's given to the classroom, like classroom supplies or something like that.
But if the code, that's changing the code, is that correct?
If we do it.
If we flat say, no gifts, period.
Over 50.
Right, yeah.
Okay, so, but the code does allow up to $50, so we can,
Well, it actually allows more than that. The $50, it's just under 50, you assume it's okay.
okay.
Over 50, maybe you look at it.
Well, if we have no teeth, why look at it? If they're gonna just ignore us anyway.
I think the hopes is the letter would put a hitch in their giddy up, maybe just to have them consider it before they take it.
One small thing, thank you, mention the Board of Ethics every time it shows up because they're usually dealing with the school board.
Yeah, I agree.
How about in this third paragraph, where it says, and is very possibly in violation, or maybe instead of is very possibly in violation, because then should we be doing more, maybe something, and may be subject to further investigation. I mean, that sort of puts them on notice, they don't want to go there. They don't want to be the subject of further inquiry, if we don't want to use the word investigation. Because what we're saying here is that maybe over 50, we maybe need to look at this further.
I have a question for you. If someone were to register a complaint through the process of an ethics complaint, what would be our findings if it were, say, a pair of tickets worth $1,000? What would our finding be?
I think, Marissa, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you would have them probably come in and ask them the appropriate questions. And I would imagine you would end up that it doesn't fit these
Well,
exceptions.
I agree, but then what? Do we tell them to return the tickets? And that's where I think we're running into an issue.
But my point is, if we were to receive a
I see what
complaint
you're
and
saying.
process it,
What's
we
that?
would most likely find that it is a violation.
Right. And then what do we do?
Yeah. Do they?
the
So the bottom line
The
is,
sanctions are the very last section of the rule, the sanctions we could impose. Corrective action,
Would be appropriate to put at least allude to the sanctions in this letter? Or are we trying to keep this somewhat warm and friendly?
we've been warm and friendly ever since I've been here.
Yeah. I agree, and the school district is, in my opinion, is not, I was very disappointed by their,
You know, through the complaint process, if we would honestly think we'd find this as a violation, it is a violation then. If we think we'd have found it so.
And then, in which case I'd suggest some of the same wording we've just talked about, adding to that such violations would be up for review and possible sanctions according to the ethics code.
Yeah. You know,
well,
gifts
in
over.
order to find a violation, I thought we had to have a notice of potential violation.
which one of us would
Which-
have to step out.
Which one of us would have to step off and file. And that's why we're saying, part of our function, that's why we start off the letter by saying, one of the functions of the board is to provide advice to those who are subject to the provisions. So, that, isn't the advice piece the one that
We've given them our advice.
Julia pointed us to? Where's the section that Julia said we have power? Where's our power section?
We got power?
We found out we
Yeah, I don't know
had
if you were
power, which
here.
is
There was
why
actually-
we're writing this letter.
There was quite a bit of, it was a lot more than we
Did you come
thought.
to the training? Were you at the training when Julia was here?
I was at one, you had more than one session, didn't you? I
No,
got
just
in one. I know, I remember she said we had some,
We have some power.
I
Some
think
cloud.
it's the 060, you know, so duties and powers of the board.
but you know,
And
my
it's
my
number
thought was
B5.
if a parent or a student were to bring a complaint to us and it was for $1,000 in tickets, I can't imagine us not finding that as a violation.
Right.
This is-
Advice, you're right, advice.
Advise any individual whose acts may be subject to provisions of a notification of potential violation to the board regarding compliance on matters within the board's jurisdiction.
Advise any individual.
I-
So maybe we say, if a notice of potential violation were filed related to your receipt of this gift, the board could find you in violation of the code.
And subject to the following sanctions.
Or we just say subject to sanctions as per code.
Make them look at the code. That's a nice way to put it.
I think, because that way it adds a little more teeth, but it's still giving them a letter of advice. Now, if we're giving the same letter to the same person 3 or 4 times, then we need to really think of what we're doing with them, but.
Well, I like the word corrective action, sanctions, so the name of that whole thing was sanctions, referrals, and corrective action. So, teachers might relate to that word too, corrective action, instead of sanctions.
Well, plus, yeah, 6 says corrective action may include actions of a non-disciplinary nature.
Well, that's probably because if you do it disciplinary, it falls under the union. And that might be difficult to,
Well, that's a good point, because there's a notice for any of the union membership.
Okay, so we add the sentence, if a notice of potential violation were filed for your acceptance of this gift, the Board of Ethics could find you in violation of the code and subject to corrective action. So somehow we need to, I think we need to reference the date of the disclosure somehow in the letter. Thank you for taking the time to submit your recent gift disclosure
Of,
and then insert date.
Instead of just your gift disclosure of blank to the Board of Ethics. Gift disclosure date.
So that it's tied to something specific. In case, I mean, they've submitted more than one. One other, okay, right, it's the board of chair. Remind you of the provisions regarding. Yes, above it.
Well, would you be putting your language, Marissa, at the end of the third paragraph, somewhere in the third paragraph, and maybe then, I mean, I think you would still close with something nice. I hate to put it that way, but,
no, kiss, kick, kiss.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Well, I think we strike,
being
let's,
more articulate than I was being.
Yeah.
let's substitute in, so where it says a significant gift from a student or parent, that sentence, let's strike that whole sentence and substitute in my sentence. And then right after we say that, you know, and subject to corrective action, the board recommends that in future you refrain from receiving such gifts from students or their parents.
Mhm.
If you wish to discuss this further with the board, feel free to contact us.
Okay, so we are striking most of the other paragraph.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Marissa, can I ask you that, are you taking out the significant gift from a student or parent during the
Yes.
course? See, I think that's a helpful statement. It explains why. I just find that informative. It explains to them that you can see how that would give rise to an appearance of undue influence. So I thought it was a helpful sentence in terms of information. And that whole last paragraph I like, except you might, in light of how you want to put some more teeth in it, just take out the first sentence. This letter is in no way reprimanding, it's only intended to provide advice, but put the last nice part.
Well, maybe we strike, I don't know, I guess I think it's repetitive, because we say the rules, we have the rules in there,
Mm-hmm.
we cite to the rules, and then we say gifts above this amount are subject to evaluation in light of the above standard. And then it seems like we're saying it again. It seems like we say the same thing 3 times, but maybe not. Maybe
Well,
just because I know these rules so well.
I was going to say, and the other thing, yeah, I mean, the code stuff is more in legalese stuff
Mhm.
versus that's a clear, and that clearly is true. A $200 gift at Christmas time is subject to concern. And I love all these gifts to teachers. I'm on the other side of this issue. But that is a concern, and it's because it does give an appearance of impropriety.
These are small ones compared to, at least one of these in here.
Yeah, it's right here, the Pikes, or Elaine
That jumped out at all of
Benston.
it.
Okay, well, we can leave it in. Yeah, I guess it's fine. And then we just insert between that sentence and the next one?
Yeah,
Okay, so.
that's what that's how I was reading it.
Okay, we insert, so we leave this. And then we insert here the sentence, and then the board recommends you refrain from receiving such gifts from students and their parents in the future. If you wish to discuss further, contact us. Okay. And then we're gonna change all boards to Board of Ethics.
So you all don't like that last paragraph without the first sentence removed, with the first sentence removed.
I guess I just don't find it necessary.
Okay.
Well, that and we go like, in understanding that gift gifting from parents is a long-established tradition, we're kind of cutting against
Yeah,
our
you're
whole
right, that
point.
part is your part. Okay.
I mean.
You can't be nice enough.
I don't think you can be nice.
We want the point to stand out that we want them to refrain from receiving such gifts in the future. I mean, that's the main thing we want to get across, right?
Yeah.
And so I think if we end on that note,
Okay.
hopefully it gets
Yeah, I mean,
across.
I read it, when I read it, he sent it out.
Otherwise, I think
came
it
back-
gets lost.
Okay.
If it's stuck in the middle,
Mm-hmm.
it needs to somehow be highlighted. Or I guess we could put subject of letter, refrain from accepting gifts over $50.
You are making this hard. Okay, no,
Well-
I can see how that.
It would be clear to me what the letter of,
We could
the
have
intent of the
Tom
letter from.
sign it and then. Then maybe the point would really get across.
Unless you want to pat down.
All right, so now we have our letter. So who are we going to send it to? So we have this list of folks from our last. So who on this list do we feel like needs to receive this letter?
I think it was the feeling of everybody, was anything over $50 was going, which is everybody on this list. I mean, yeah, we got the 80, 84, $85, but
Well, besides the value, all of them are from individuals or specific families. They're not from a classroom or an association.
I think
Do
that's
you
why we
think-
picked them too.
Should we make the point anywhere that accepting a gift from the group or for the classroom is okay?
I think that would be helpful, personally.
well, maybe if you want to cite that particular,
That's not.
is there a site?
No, there's no rule on it.
It does state so on here, though.
On the form? Group of parents, you're right. It has group of parents in the rule. A parent, guardian of a student, group of parents.
Actually, it says, yeah, group of parents, community organization, anything over $50, period. So they shouldn't be receiving, even the PTA, they shouldn't be receiving anything over $50.
that personally benefits them, right?
Correct. I don't have any problem with, I don't think anybody does if it goes towards classroom supplies.
I take it
My
this is
sister's a
a,
teacher now. She puts a lot of her own funds into classroom supplies.
Can I resign from the board because
Really?
well, first of all, whose form is this? This one right here. This is a school district form, right?
Yeah.
Well, in a way, they're promoting violation of the rules by setting these arbitrary standards for declaration. They're promoting violation.
See, again, I don't think that's true because you can get gifts over $50. They're subject to further.
Oh, right, look, it says allowable. In accordance with 15025H, I disclose allowable unsolicited gifts as follows.
I'm trying to find
So the
the-
form does make it look like it's permissible.
Well, it does.
And then the
This-
asterisk down here, that asterisk on allowable. Is accept a gift from an individual entity that interests that may be substantially affected by the performance of person's official municipal ASC duties as certificates for timing and the nature of the gift would cause a reasonable person to question the person's judgment in exercising feasible in official municipal duties.
Again, I don't think gifts over $50 are in violation of the ethics code. It's then you have to see if they fit into one of the other exceptions or whether they raise that inference of improper influence. Whether they've subcategorized it correctly or not.
I guess if I was to look at it, it kind of says, this form says, okay, I had a gift over $50, I filled it out. Then I get this letter from the Board of Ethics. It's just telling me that, pretty much telling me what's written already here. What was in the form, but I should just be wary that I'm on the verge of looking inappropriate and need to consider that for future gifts.
Which will then hopefully keep somebody from receiving airplane tickets.
Uh-huh.
Well, everything we've done so far hasn't worked.
Well, no, I agree.
Well, I would suggest that we send a letter to anyone who has a gift valued at $100 or more. Because the rule does say that occasional gifts over $50, depending on the situation, are okay.
Okay, well, that's only 4 of them you're not sending it to. And actually, the cost of the 2 Orso gift cards is only $80. The value is $100.
The rule
Anybody
says,
who goes to Costco knows.
unless rebutted by other factors, an occasional gift worth $50 or less, is presumed not to be given. Okay, so
Yeah, $50 should stay part.
when unsolicited, these occasional gifts are allowed, provided that the disclosure requirement for each are met. When unsolicited, these occasional gifts are allowed. A gift of nominal value. So the rule is really not $50, it's nominal value. A gift of nominal value given to an employee of Anchorage School District by a parent, student, parent, group of parents, community organization. The school district employee shall disclose a gift that is in this category with a value in excess of $50.
Now, where are you?
That's where they screw us
Are you
up
on-
right there.
Where are you, Marissa? Where did you read it from?
025 H 2G.
Jeez, okay.
A gift of nominal value given to an employee of Anchorage School District by a student, parent, group of parents.
Mhm.
So nominal value, and they suggest by the next sentence, that
That's
nominal value is
$50.
something over $50.
Well, nominal value would be less than $50,
Less than 50, yeah.
right?
It says the school district employee shall disclose the gift in this
This
category,
category.
meaning the nominal value category, with a value in excess of $50.
There's something wrong with the way it's written then. Because if it's not in the category, what is it? It's of great value. If it's not nominal, it's significant.
Okay, well, I'm comfortable sending the letter to everyone on this list.
All the teachers.
Under your signature and your phone number?
No.
Barbara,
Terrence Kelly wrote this letter, and Terrence Kelly has sent me this letter.
Barbara's already getting enough hot water in the election coming up, she doesn't need any.
I'm okay with it too.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it.
So am I.
So we're all in favor of Terrence Kelly sending this letter to everyone on this.
We could all sign it, I suppose.
Other question would be who gets copied with this guy?
I was just gonna say, I think that Eric Tollefson certainly should be counted in it, because he'll be getting a lot of phone calls.
Eric Tollefson is,
He's assistant superintendent, but he works, ethics is his, part of his portfolio. He's the one
And
that's
not
with
Carol? Just
Well, I
Eric?
mean, we can have a Carol too, but I
But I'm
think
just wondering.
Yeah, Eric's sure, it should be A1.
Probably should invite Eric over sometime too.
was he at that meeting we were at? I don't recall.
No, but he's come here. I think both times that
Tall guy, dark
I
hair.
think both times that Carol has come here, he's come with her. All right.
I guess my other question is, I don't know whether you're not really threatening discipline against these employees.
No, we're not.
We're basically just telling them to
We're
watch
saying
them.
that if a notice of potential violation were filed, it could be possibly found to be in violation.
Well, why do we have them declare to begin with?
Because the rule says,
No, why did the rule get written for them to have to declare? To get absolution? For us to make it say it's okay? I don't think that was the purpose of this.
That's a good question to ask next week because good time to ask the author.
Because if we're looking at these, it must be for some reason, other than to say it's okay. We're supposed to identify when it's not okay. And we're saying, at least in these, that we don't think it's okay. And this one here, it really ain't okay. And this little remark here, $179 actual cost to me.
Yeah.
Huh? But it's worth $1,000?
Well, because you gotta pay taxes when you use those tickets.
Oh, is that what that's about?
More
Have you
likely,
said-
Kathy, yeah.
I think, back to your question, do we want to say anything else? And I mean, probably the situation where parents do the most gift giving is for supplies, where they really intend it to go to a
Well-
classroom. And doesn't the school board have its own little
I
policies
think the
on that
school
anyway?
board is gonna have to, or Carol or somebody's gonna have to tell the parents at some point that the teachers are getting these letters. Don't
Do
think?
you want to pre-send this to Eric?
Or the more public, the problem is the more public we make it, the more likely it is someone's gonna file a notice of potential violation on one of these teachers.
Or we just don't get these from the teachers. We'll get some, but
Send it
enough
to him in advance so he can have heads up that it's going out, or?
Well, number one, that, and number two, if there's some huge, he points out there's some huge problem with this course of action. You're independent from them, so you certainly have the authority to do that, but sometimes
And also keep in mind, anybody who gets a gift that doesn't declare is in violation for not declaring.
I seem to recall from Julia that her suggestion was to revise the form and to put like a rejection box on the form where the board rejects the disclosure and tells the parent to give it back.
Or just say it's unacceptable to keep it. They could donate it to the school or whatever, but it's unacceptable for them to retain it.
If it's already been used.
Yeah, it's a Lure Day Spa, and they've already gone to the spa. And you can't get anything for $50 in Lure Day Spa, so.
Can we maybe ask Julie more about that, because again, I don't follow that track, but we have the authority to.
We just have authority to give advice, which is, I think is what we thought. We only have authority to give advice, so we're advising.
Recommend you return the gift or donate it to a
We're
nonprofit
recommending that in
agency.
future they refrain from receiving such gifts. I mean, that's our only recommendation at this point. Although we do put it in.
If we, get the letter modified and, get it out for at least email approval, could we get it to Mr. Charleston for his reaction?
His reaction, he would have good recommendation
Yeah.
too, that, hey, why don't you add this line here about
Well,
supplies?
I was
or-
just wondering, because you're talking about adding the time or the
No.
date. We
Yeah.
could say, dear so-and-so, the following letter is regarding your disclosure of, the following is a letter of advice regarding your disclosure of such and such date, and then go into the letter. That'd be the,
Or would you like to just attach a copy of their
No,
notice with
she's
the date
saying
in?
kind of make it up front clear that this
this
is
is a letter of advice.
You don't even have to declare what it's about, just say reference
Well,
your declaration of this date.
Well, it does say that sort of in the second line, to provide advice.
And then you go right into the letter. I mean, just kind of like it's a subheading almost. but-
We don't really need to cite all these provisions. You're right, because it is repeating what's on the form. We could just go straight from the board to provide advice, and then strike everything after that sentence and go down to the ethics code makes clear that occasional gifts with a value under 50 are generally acceptable. Gifts above that amount are subject to evaluation,
Period.
period. A significant gift from a student or parent during the course of the school year gives rise to a parent's funding influence.
Yeah, see, and then that sentence becomes helpful.
Now TK's gonna say he doesn't want to sign this. But I'll have to talk him into signing.
He'll sign head, Dr. Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Let me ask you a question. If
Yeah.
if this said $10,000, what would we do?
Apply as a job for a teacher.
I mean, this one says 1,000 in market value. That's a lot of money. That's not nominal by any stretch.
That's more than a coach purse.
Well, there's a coach person here somewhere too, wasn't there?
There was, not this year, but in previous years.
Uh,
Well, there's a coach wristlet and keychain.
Oh, pardon me. Whatever a wristlet and keychain is, I don't know. A coach purse, I know what that is.
I know,
Highly sought after.
I bought one for Christmas for somebody this year, so.
So are you suggesting that we do a stronger or a different letter on the $1,000 one?
I think we should tell them they should give it back or donate it to a nonprofit, frankly.
The last word's significant.
Well, provided they haven't already used it, because the way I read the form, they had to pay something to use it. It appears to me that there was a cost, they've already used it.
Yeah, maybe what that means.
Trying to figure
Well, do
out.
they come in, I mean, the thing is, if someone filed a notice of potential violation on us, and they came in here and they told us, well, I had to chaperone the kids down to California for a regional something tournament.
But then that would have been in the disclosure, and it wouldn't even, they would not have received anything. Would we receive a notice, because it was for official school?
And the school couldn't afford to send me, and some parents said, oh, we have some unused mileage.
Then we might not find it as a violation, but
Right,
what if that wasn't their excuse? What if they had no legitimate?
right. But see, the thing is, I don't think we can tell them to give it back without actually knowing that piece of information. So if we're gonna tell them to give it back, then I think we have to investigate it. And ask some of those questions, like, when did you get it? Did you use it? What did you use it for?
Well, we could do that. We could ask them to come in and explain it, considering the amount of the significance of it.
Would they have a right to have their union rep with them?
Probably.
Well, if there's any potential discipline. I have to read their exact CBA language.
Well, I don't think we can do
Sometimes it's
discipline,
broader
can we?
than that.
That's
Well,
not one of our
it's
options.
hard to. I mean,
We can recommend
115-100 imposition of municipal employee discipline restitution is subject to, but that's based on findings. But there's most of the CBAs, there's an entitlement to have a union rep there for almost any reason. You know, so
But
you-
even that,
you do get into that
wouldn't be a
world.
big deal to have a union rep. Kind of goes back to the basic question, why do we have them disclose if we're just gonna pass on all of them?
Right.
Well, you know, we're serving no function other than processing paperwork.
Well, what we have been doing up to this point is we occasionally will pull them and we'll call and follow up with them on the phone. We'll have someone call. I've called a couple times to follow up and find out, do they feel like the parent was trying to influence them by giving them this gift? They all say no, of course, but
I'm trying to put myself in the parent's shoes or in a child
Right.
who even has a maybe not as even a clear a view as a parent should have. Seeing that gifts given to a teacher and feel that there's impropriety going on favors. I mean, this thing was written into the code for a reason.
right.
And I definitely think these airlines ones are one of those that we do need to follow up on. I mean, it's,
Yeah. So
Yeah, your seat may get a little warm. on
we
that one.
use the letter for which one of these then? For anything in the $100 to $250 range? Or are we gonna do do we wanna do more for the ones that are $250? We have a $200 gift card, $250 tickets to Mayor's Charity Ball, another $250 gift card.
And the one on the bottom may be it's not clear on here what this is. You did this. Is that, was it just say parents on there?
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't know if it's groups of, more than one set of parents, or?
Stack of them.
Yeah, I have the stack here somewhere. Oh, this is the new stack.
In my experience, these charity balls, they cost you more than the cost of the tickets.
The ticket's just the beginning.
Yeah, it just says parents. So that one might be a phone call to find out if it was a group of parents.
Yeah, I think how many parents plays into that. It's plural, but two makes plural.
But does that include mother and father, or husband and wife? I mean, that's still one unit, right?
I would see it that way. But
Yeah. But if it was two sets of parents or more, then
I see several pairs here. Mr. and Mrs. Tickpack, that would be parents, plural.
Yeah. But it's still one family.
Yes.
yeah.
The Finleys are pretty generous.
Really?
The Finleys. Probably several kids of different age, so they give a gift to all the different teachers.
And Marissa, I think your point of sending a letter to everybody, leaving the $250 threshold on this, and anything more requires a possibly further work is a good point. Because we do have a threshold. It's not established anywhere in code, but we tend to go based on precedence if we establish the precedent.
Well, the code really is $50. Under $50, safe harbor. Over 50 not, that we could look at it further.
And I mean, I have the feeling that for the most part, we all look at these and knowing that the $100 ones, they do need the letter. Up to $250, I think it's fine with the letter, but over that, then I start, I think we all start questioning
George.
questioning that amount is.
Yeah. Yes.
And definitely when it gets to the
Yep.
$1,000 range, then
Yep, I
we'll
agree.
really hit any threshold. So
Okay,
I'm good with
so-
that too.
I'm gonna revise the letter. I'm gonna send it to Eric. Then we're gonna send the letter to everyone on the list from our prior meeting. We're gonna do follow-up.
Now, are you gonna pre-send it to Eric, or, yeah? And at the same time, I can look at the CBA.
I don't think it makes any difference. I was just curious.
And then
Oh, no, it's a big deal.
for anyone 250 and over, we're gonna do additional phone calling or follow-up. And then okay, so that's everyone on the past, on the old business.
Now, with respect to the collective bargaining agreement, would we have to send a copy of the letter to the?
This I'm not sure of. I have to look at the exact terms of it. Yeah, the CBAs are different in what that one actually says. And the other thing is what the union has actually asked for in the past. We have some unions that will not allow any employee to go to anything that could result in any adverse of anything without a union rep, and they're adamant about it. So I'm not sure how that, I don't know if they're AMEA or who they are, ASEA.
Okay, so do I need a motion on the old business?
I move that we amend Dr. Kelly's letter as indicated, and then send that letter to Mr. Tolleson of the school district. And whatever else you had in there, I didn't.
And then, assuming it gets the okay from Eric and Dee on the CBA, then we'll begin processing them for anyone on our list of last time who's over the $50 limit on the gift and under $250, and then we'll do additional follow-up with anyone over $250.
Correct, that's my motion.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Well,
Aye.
discussion point.
Discussion? Okay.
If you make it a practice to send those to every one of them over $50, then it doesn't single anybody out. So from the standpoint, it becomes kind of our own policy to advise people. Then you probably won't have people feeling like they're being singled out necessarily. So rather than, if you just say anything over 50, you put the letter on it. Is that what you're saying to us?
Yeah, you're gonna send a letter to, I mean, that's the intent of the.
Yeah, so anybody over $50.
Right, but this $250 one from the parents, do
Mhm.
I thought we were talking about pooling those and maybe calling those people in addition.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I just want to separate the calls from the letters themselves. I think sending the letters is a good idea then. Anything over $50 and then additional based on ones that are remarkably high value.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay.
satisfies my question.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So now we are going to move on to the review of the new disclosures. So of the new disclosures, which ones, so anyone in this pack who's over $50 is going to get the letter. As
No,
per
we-
our
we're-
last-
Yeah, that's not the first one, that's for questions.
Oh, okay. Legally parents, so this, it looks like a group of parents.
Yeah. And to
For
use in the
use, for
classroom.
use in the classroom.
Use of the classroom.
But you'd want to pull aside Vivian Murray for Beth Daly for the $100.
Mystery tour tickets. Oh, that's a door
Door
prize.
prize.
Can't do much about that.
No.
Yeah.
Besides, it wasn't that
But is that Aileen Benson or Holleen? That's the one with $1,000
Yeah,
value.
this one, yeah, it's more than just the one.
So on Aileen, do we want to see if we can call her in to meet with us here, or do you want me to do a phone call to her? How do you want to do that?
Who, are you asking me?
The group.
The group.
We need to look at the CBA in order to even,
Oh, actually, probably we do. Because it would be a meeting, I mean, if you're going to call them in.
So we probably,
I think we
do you
call
want to
her in.
defer this one till?
Either that or just do a phone call this time, and the next time we have a large one. And it'll give us time to check out the CBA
Well,
for the future.
but I'm in favor of calling her. This is more than a little, more than.
Well, and notice to the
$250.
union isn't difficult, you just send it to the union steward, a copy of the letter that goes to this person.
I guess to some degree, this is kind of a shot across the bow. This is going to get across, if you call somebody in, this is going to get across to all the teachers and wake them up that, wait a minute.
And in the union newsletters.
Yep. The word will get around.
So
Yeah.
we call her in. And then what else? I wasn't thinking of the word for what we do with her. No one's requested an advisory opinion. No one has filed a potential violation on it.
Well, who's not gonna be here next meeting? We can have them make the,
The thing is, how can we even file a notice of potential violation without knowing more facts? Just based on this form?
or perhaps we bring this one up next week
Well, you have to have the
At
authority
training?
to,
at the training. If you
which,
want,
by the way,
you know,
isn't next week right now, because
well, the last I heard it was the 4th.
4th, and I sent an email, so maybe people still aren't all getting these emails that's saying that Julia couldn't do the 4th, that the 18th looked better for her.
Okay. If we need to scrub the name off of it so that, you know, we use it as an example.
Well, you have to have the power to ask people to come here. You have to have that much power to ask questions.
Well, if for no other reason, to be able to manage the program, we have to understand what's happening
Yeah.
within the program.
And you have to have a basis for inquiry. And I guess Marissa's question is whether it'd make more sense for someone to call the person and ask them questions, whether to pull them in
A
first.
phone call won't get around. But if they were asked to come down here and provide additional information, that'll get around.
And that would be easy enough to copy to Eric and to Union Steward. It's not difficult to do.
Well, we are tasked with educating, so maybe we,
We pull them in under the premise of education.
well, I guess the thing is, potentially if they testify and we find there's enough information there for a violation, then somebody at that
But
point
at some point, you need to tell them that any testimony they could give,
could result in
just like the Miranda warning.
notice of potential violation, yeah.
Either that or give them immunity right up front. Say, this is not an inquiry for the purposes of disciplinary pursuit. We're just trying to understand what's happening out there in the school environment with gift giving, because it's getting larger and larger in terms of the amount.
Well, that is something we can, what do you think?
Well, you have, under the sanctions section, the 1.15.100, A5, public and private letters of admonishment may describe corrective action the issuing body deems appropriate. And the next one, corrective action may include actions of a non-disciplinary nature.
Okay, and it says here, under the advice section, it says, when an individual's actions may be governed by this chapter, consult with and advise the individual on matters involving ethical conduct.
Well, and I guess you could put in your letter asking them to appear that you consider this non-disciplinary in nature.
And advisory in nature.
Mhm.
Non-disciplinary, but advisory in nature.
Although there's actions in between that, you may want to do corrective action, but non-disciplinary. They're not disciplined as an employee, but you may, for instance, say that do we look at that up? Can you ask them to return the money? What other corrective actions are not disciplinary in nature? And a whole bunch of them.
So I think we draft a separate letter that we CC to Eric and to the union that says to this individual saying, thank you for submitting your form. We would like to meet with you to
Ask further questions. You want to say that? Well,
ask further questions, but to consult and advise you on ethical conduct.
yeah, no, but there's right there. That's good language.
That's what it says under section.
That's me vibrating.
I can feel it way over here. I'm checking my.
It's a new one. It really vibrates strong.
To include applicability and interpretation of municipal ethics laws. So we cite to this section here and say that we want to meet with you to advise advise and consult with you on ethical conduct.
It's gonna terrify.
Well, I was going to say, that's going to be enough of a deterrent right there.
Well, that's, I think we may have to put a shot across the bow. At some point, you know, if they do that and all they hear nothing back, then they'll just
I
keep
can't
getting
imagine how
larger.
anyone in their right mind would take this.
Well, the other shot across the bow ought to be to all those that are taking gifts and not declaring them, because they're in violation. Regardless of the amount, well, if it's over $50 and they don't declare it, they're in violation of the law. And that's more than 50% of the population that's taking gifts. I would bet money.
Well, our own poll that we did showed, was it less than 25% of schools are doing any kind of disclosures? Which is something, a separate issue. If Mr. Tollison comes in, we can discuss that with him individually.
Okay, so I will send a letter asking this person to come at the next meeting. Okay.
And I'll get to you about the notice.
And we have
CBA
one
notice
person
issue.
who's gonna get the letter. Do we have any more? We have a letter?
I didn't see anything else.
Okay, so other than Beth Daly, we accept the disclosure forms?
Oh, you had another type of disclosure in here, appointment disclosure.
As well as, yeah.
All right, the gift disclosures.
So
Do
we
I
need,
have a motion on the acceptance of the gift disclosures?
I move that we accept the gift disclosures as presented, with the exception of those over $100 or $50 receiving the advice letter, and the one that is $1,000, we should seek to gain further information with regards to that gift.
Okay.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do I have to take all question?
Well, no, because you just did.
Okay. Appointment disclosures?
Personally, I didn't find anything that was any issue. Some of them are refilling out their appointments. The clerk's office sent out a bunch of them saying we need to update some of the forms.
I don't know. No, I know we did the assembly and the school board, but I don't know the rest.
And
of
then
the
Tom and I
rules.
stood on Matthew to make sure that he accepted ours.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Robin's.
Well, I was gonna say, I know I submitted mine, but I haven't,
haven't seen
I
it
don't
come
see
back
it
yet?
yet in here. I know I got accepted, because he told me, but.
Do I have a motion on these appointment disclosure forms?
I move we accept. Go ahead, Robin.
I move that we accept the appointment disclosure forms as presented to us today.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Review of ASC superintendent performance letter regarding political activities. It looks fine to me. I don't know exactly what she wanted from us.
Well, if I had an issue with it, it's that they didn't copy you, they copied Dr. Smith.
noticed that too.
There's only one ethic.
Well, but their meaning as chair of the commission. Actually, the one that's stapled together that you gave me doesn't have that last page on it.
This is just a notice to us, really, right?
Yeah.
This is just our CC copy. Okay.
Although I wish the school district didn't use my tax money to lobby me to vote on their bonds.
We have one more item that's not on the agenda. Let's see if I can find it. Investigation 2010-3.
This one is on the leasehold, 60 days, don't we? Said that one.
The one you're supposed to bring the witnesses on, Tom?
What's that? Yeah, I got one, I think I must have forgot to do something. And Melissa sent me a note about it, I gotta find out what that is and pick up my pieces.
2010-3.
What was that one?
Tom Burgess, to contact person involved and begin investigation. Let me see if I can.
Okay, why don't you give me, or I'll need a copy, because I don't routinely keep copies of this stuff. I must have screwed that one up by not following through. But I can follow through.
Here's my copy.
Okay.
And we have a total of, what did we have? We had 60 days to start, or 90 days to start, and 60 days added on. We voted on extending the time.
Oh, is this the one where he hired his wife?
Family member, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have
Over.
150 days from the date, what's the date on that?
Yeah, it was received here on the 4th of November.
November 4th.
90 days would have been February 4th.
So we have less than 30 days left.
I'll get on it next week.
No, I believe you got more than that. More than 30 days.
I saw a note from Shayla that said April 4th, it's extra 60 days, it said 60 days, that's Easter Rabbit.
That makes sense, if 90 days.
Okay, the extension
February
is
4th.
under.
Do we have in the
Right
minutes what we were going to do
before
with this one?
Right, April 4th.
It's probably in the minutes we haven't typed yet.
I need to see what our action
Let's see, we
was.
have until April 4th to get our opinion published, I think.
Okay, the board shall complete action on notifications, investigations within 90 days of the filing of a notice of potential violation by a majority vote. The board may extend the completion date for up to an additional 60 days.
Are we within, see, November,
So
December,
does that
January?
include publishing our opinion? Do you think that also means?
Extend the completion date? I don't think so. The intent is probably not to keep people hanging out there.
Oh, this guy doesn't even know what's up.
Yeah. And I did check on a sort of a statute of limitations issue because some of this behavior was 2 years ago, and that, no, there is none in the code.
No statute of limitation on it?
Checked with a couple people on that issue.
And you just want further details on this? An inquiry?
We need to notify him and tell him to come before us at our next meeting to be heard.
Do you want me to make a copy of that for you?
Yeah, let's do that.
And our next meeting is gonna be when now?
She said the 18th.
And for training.
That's when Julia would be available, she thinks, March 18th.
What's our next regular meeting, that would be?
You're telling me we can copy this, the first we have with Ben.
I probably have it
Copy this.
scheduled for the 11th or what is
There we go.
It's the wrong month.
Well, can I bring this up, Marissa, are we now avoiding third Thursdays of every month?
Well, actually, I gotta be honest, Thursdays are bad for me. I could be here Wednesdays and Fridays, but Thursdays, it's just, if I know ahead of time, then I can schedule something with Thursday, but it's just, I need to have enough notice, and I can do it.
My calendar is way open unless my boss is in town, and then because I normally only get him for about a week, and so he doesn't like me leaving at all when he's here in town. So. But he doesn't come in and go on a schedule. He comes and goes on his schedule. So for the next few weeks, I'm great.
Sounds like my boss shows up once in a while for a couple days and then leaves.
I was just saying Fridays are terrible for me because either I have every other Friday off once in a while, or I'm covering for other people who are off. There has to be someone in the administration.
Well, Fridays and Mondays, particularly in the summertime, is problematic because people are trying to extend their weekends.
And today's a Wednesday, and
No, that's-
Terrence Kelly said
At
he's teaching
2:30
Wednesdays.
class.
And you're saying Wednesdays and Fridays. but you're
I can do it, I just need to have enough notice to be able to schedule something to work
On a Thursday.
on a Thursday. I have, a small office where I'm the one who's there 40 hours, and then somebody comes in 16 hours, 2 days a week. So I can have to schedule them. I have to give them enough notice to be able to schedule.
So if we were to do the third Thursday every month, would that work?
It would, as long as I give them notice.
Should work for me.
Do we know about Dr. Kelly on this one?
No.
Well, the time frame you're talking about for the training is the 18th?
Yes. And that's
if we-
separate and apart from the rest of this.
What
That
if
is
we
a Friday, isn't it?
change-
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I was gonna
And that's
say.
And the
fine.
third Thursday would be the 17th, actually, in this particular case.
And what time of day was you thinking of? 3 again?
Well, the 18th was 3 to 5 with Julia.
Okay.
But I think we probably should have our regular meeting the day we,
And,
I mean,
the
even
day
if it is
before,
the day
St.
before.
Patrick's Day, but, so.
Well, I have a team just finishing up leaving, but they should be on the way by 3 o'clock out of here
On the 18th.
on the 18th. That's their first of 18 visits.
Okay, so we'll schedule for March 17th at 3 o'clock, and you'll have,
March 17th.
That's the third Thursday.
I thought we were going to talk about the next one will be on the 18th.
That's the training.
That's
Oh.
training.
Okay.
so you can you notify the defendant in the notice? What do we
Peter
call
Rabb.
it?
The respondent.
The respondent, sorry. That, they're to come to our March 17th meeting,
Okay.
and everyone will be prepared for that meeting to ask questions.
Of
Shall we do
course.
this in writing? Send them a letter?
I have a form letter I could forward to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we'll know, you'll let us know, I guess,
And we should have that
a
other,
couple days in advance as to where we're gonna be.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna use this room for elections.
we'll also have the school person on the 18th, or the 17th as well.
So you're going to do that on the
$1,000
17th of March.
$1,000 one. Is that correct?
March 17th.
Or do
Might
we
be
want to
late.
wait till
I
after?
might be late that
No,
day.
let's do it. Maybe there's some slim chance
Like-
maybe she didn't use the ticket out.
We're briefing the state from 1 to 3 that day. So I might be a little late getting here.
On which day, the 17th?
17th of March.
Well, as long as we still have a quorum.
Okay, maybe start at 3:30. Although we keep varying, and that's why we're having notice problems.
I was gonna say, as long as you've made sure that they're gonna be here.
I'll see to it they're here. I'll let us know. If there's some reason they're out of state or something, I'll
Yeah.
certainly
But
die.
then, we
Yeah.
should be, I imagine we'll, as long as Terry's here too, we'll have quorum.
We only need 3 for a quorum.
So I've already published that date time for our briefing to the state.
Sure they won't be at Energy Council?
Anything can happen. Now, the next week I'm available anytime.
Are you headed down to DC?
Any further comments?
Well, does this mean that we're gonna try to do the third Thursday from here on out as regular meeting times? And then I say that for the clerk's office. but-
Yeah, I think the only person we have
Well,
to
we
check with is
can't.
Terry.
Right,
So we need to check with
I don't
him.
think we can say we're gonna do regular Thursdays without him, because
Mhm.
his teaching schedule varies. That's why we switched it around. Because in the summer, he teaches certain afternoons. In the winter, he teaches different afternoons. And so, in order to have him here, he can't skip teaching, so.
Well, maybe we can, next time, try to figure out 3 months in advance or something so that this noticing is more regular. Because right now, the websites of public notice, I don't think is adequate, or it's becoming questionable. So that we should probably clean that up and maybe 3 months at a time or something.
Well, I know the bulk of my travel 3 months out, unless it's an emergency, disaster or something like that.
Oh, like a major football game in Dallas.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh.
maybe if we change the time of day, it might work better for him too, if he doesn't ever teach mornings. I mean, I don't know. It seems to me like he normally has afternoon classes, so we could.
How does that work? Everybody switch times?
There's certain days of the month that I have conference calls that I must attend, but they're usually the first Thursday and the last Friday are our scheduled conference calls. And we don't usually get that close to a change out of a month, so most of the time, earlier in the day is not a problem. And for me, usually that window from about third week, for some reason my bosses leave me alone later in the month. They like to tag me early in the month.
7 to 9. Did everybody have their ethics before?
They actually changed it. We have a conference call every Wednesday morning. It was at 5 o'clock in the morning, and then they realized, oh, we're making you get up for a conference call at 5?
I used to lay on the couch and do the conference call because,
I said, yes, you didn't know that? Oh, they felt real bad, so they shifted it, so it's 7
What about the
o'clock.
poor guy in Hawaii? It was 4 o'clock for them.
Oh, we probably should adjourn.
That's Mitchell. He ain't worth bothering for. He's up at 4.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.